Can you briefly explain why you're done with ranked so I can clip it, please? Thank you. Already did the rant for like a million times, but we can have one final rant, I guess. Clip-worthy rant incoming. So, I currently do not care at all about solo ranked. I currently don't care at all about ranked at all. Solo ranked is not the only thing. Solo ranked is quite easy to explain why I don't care about. If you play solo ranked right now, you can play against 5-man stacks on the enemy team, and I think that it's completely irrelevant to play it. The option of strict solo queue is currently not working, since they're experimenting with turning it on and off to see the impacts of that happening. Personally, if I see a game that is 5-man stack versus 5-man solo in Immortal level games, then I don't want to watch that game. I think it's completely fucking irrelevant to watch it. So solo queuing is very annoying, since I've multiple times gotten into those games and I think it's dumb. You can also get into games against 5-man stacks when you're playing 2-man party much more frequently than when you're solo queuing, and 3-man party even more frequently than when you're 2-man stacking. So what this means is that no matter what you do, you're gonna end up against 5-man stacks quite a bit. Those games are all pretty dumb to me, even the 3+1+1 or the 2+1+2. The ones that make the most sense is, I guess, 5-man stack versus 2+3 stack. That can still be pretty good, but in all honesty, I think the 3+1+1 or even the 2+1+2, and in particular the 1+1+1+1+1 versus 5, are all irrelevant to me, and I don't want to watch them. I don't want to play them. They're all fucking dumb. On top of this, you also have the fact that currently in high MMR, you don't have solo and party MMR anymore, which has led to anyone who takes MMR super serious and wants to grind ranked should be playing in stacks. You should probably always be playing in a 5-man stack for reasons that I'll come to later. But basically, if you're serious about MMR, you should be stacking. Personally, I enjoy playing solo queue games more than stacking for multitude of reasons. Just, easier for me to try hard on my game and actually interact with chat, as opposed to talking to my entire team and treating it more the way that you would treat a scrim or a tournament game. Something that I don't enjoy quite as much to do all the time. Pubs are, in the end, pubs. If I want to have scrim or tournament experience, I will sign up for scrims or tournaments, the way I see it. But, of course, if you want to have pubs turning into 5-man stacking and 5-man scrims, essentially, then that is the direction Dota is heading towards, which you could argue is higher quality games. However, it stumbles on its own foot, which is that it's not higher quality games. It's once again lower quality games because you introduced ranked roles. What does ranked roles means? It means that every player can choose which position they would like to play. They can choose multiple or a single position. Now, because of this is more customization to your queue time. Basic logic would tell you that any time that you introduce basic customization to your queue time, you will extend the queue time. That is simple, right? If the queue time extends, that means that typically the system has to be more lenient on MMR differences within the game in order to find games at the same rate. So what that means is ranked roles leads to lower quality games, in my opinion, since you get more ancient and divine players for some reason playing in the same games as even top 20, top 50, top 100 Immortal players. I've seen multiple games where we have some rank 20 or rank 100 mid player going against divine or even ancient players on the mid lane. Yes, Valve have addressed this and said that they are going to work to improve the system and make sure that that doesn't happen quite as often, but even after Valve's blog post, I've still seen matches where the mid laner is just thousands of them more higher than the mid laner on the enemy team. This already makes it completely irrelevant to play the match, in my opinion, or at least a very, very sad system. Kind of getting sidetracked here, but yes, with the bigger differences in MMR from the ranked role system, you end up having a lot of games where Ancient and Divine players just get into games with Immortal players. Now, this could be seen as a good and a bad thing, depending on what point of view you have. If you're looking at the highest quality games, it's a bad thing. If you're looking at the highest quality games for any of the individuals, it's also a bad thing. Sure, maybe an Ancient player could learn more by being in a game with 9 other Immortal players, but still, he's also not going to be performing as good as other players in that game, and he's going to struggle to keep up. But it could be a great learning experience for him. However, not every Ancient player wants to be put into a game with 9 Immortal players and have the pressure of having to perform as good as you can and still get flamed. Even if you play your best, you might still not be playing good enough according to your teammates. And rightfully so. They're Immortals. They expect Immortal level gameplay, not Ancient level gameplay. I'm not trying to sound elitist here, but those games become kind of stupid. On top of, even if you fix the mid matchups of mid being different MMR, you would still have to address the same thing for offlane and carry. If one team has a rank 100 offlaner and the other team has a carry who's Ancient or Divine, that's also a pretty fucking dumb matchup. So I definitely think that ranked roles is a fucking terrible idea for Immortal and Divine level gameplay. I don't think it should exist for Immortal and Divine level players in ranked. That is my stance, because I think it adds too much customization, which brings too much issues for such a small player base. If you go down to the lower end of or the more centered parts of MMR, down to 3K, 4K MMR, then yes, there's sufficient amount of players that this sort of system can actually work pretty well. But towards the extremes, such as high-level Immortal, you don't have infinite amount of players to work with, and that leads to what I have just been ranting about. Ancient and Divine players playing with top 100 players, which is a very big difference. I do believe that ranked roles might actually come with a lot of improvements for lower level games, such as people not fighting for the roles, which is nice. One more thing though about ranked roles, since we're on the topic of complaining here about everything that is wrong right now. 5-man stacks. We have people 5-man stacking, right? There's a lot of 5-man stacks going on to grind MMR. As I said, that is what you should be doing if you want to be serious about MMR. However, if one player is higher support MMR and lower carry MMR, and then he has a friend who is the opposite, higher on his, I don't know which I said, core, yeah, the opposite, right? Then he just queues for his lower MMR, say it be carry, and his friend queues for his lower, which is support, and then when they get into the game, they play the other role. So they're currently now, say they have 1,000 lower core MMR than support. Then, if both of them are 1,000 difference, then they are now looking like a 2,000 MMR lower team than the matchmaking should see them as. Because they then play the position they're supposed to...
I'm back, hello, easy.
They then play the position that they're the highest on. What that would mean is that the system believes they're 2,000 more lower than they should be, and it results in more imbalanced games. This is being done quite a lot right now, and the funny part is, if you're playing against an enemy team that is doing this, even if they're 5-man stacking, and you're 5-man stacking against them, say that you see one of the enemies are playing a role they're not supposed to play, you cannot report that player for playing a role they're not supposed to play. Because you are on the enemy team. In this game, for instance, say that I saw Pelican here on hard support, but he's playing anti-mage safe lane and farming. If I want to report him, I cannot do it, because I'm his enemy. I cannot report him for not playing the role he is supposed to play. You know what that means? 5-man stacks can, without any risk at all, play on different roles than they are queuing for, without any form of punishment. What this means is that the system is making it very, very easy to do these changes where multiple players in the same team could make themselves look a lot weaker to the system than they actually are. If they simply have lower support or lower core MMR, they just queue on that and change. This is happening a lot in high-level games, and it's a very easy way for 5-man stacks to boost their MMR. On top of this, though, there's one more thing which is being done a lot, and I would say more than ever, the amount of 5-man stack smurfs in Immortal bracket is higher than ever. And as for why, it's quite simple. You can now party stack with your friends and boost their MMR directly. This could not be done before because you had to queue into them and then try to boost them somehow. But now you can just form a party together, say 3 players on Smurfs, 2 players on mains, and now you're boosting the 2 players who are on their mains. This is being done so much, and playing together with Sing Sing or playing together with others, I've run into so many stacks of 3 Smurfs and 2 mains, or even when I played with Sing Sing, we ran to 4 Smurfs and 1 main account. What this results in is, of course, once again, games that are not necessarily that interesting to watch or play, which again deters me from playing, since 5-man party is where you're supposed to play if you're as serious as possible about gaining MMR right now. If it's so built into the system that you can just boost each other now in multiple different ways that I've explained now very briefly, then even if you're serious and trying to 5-man stack and party and try hard, I would still be demotivated by that part. But I'm not a 5-man stack enthusiast so much. I am more about solo queuing and just playing some fucking Dota. And as a solo queue, it's even worse, because imagine you're playing solo queue, you get into a 5-man stack, and they also have people smurfing and boosting each other, while you and your 4 other teammates are all solo queuers. Like, how good do you think those games are? So, pair up all my different complaints right now. I think that I probably missed a few, because I have a long fucking list of reasons why I don't enjoy ranked right now, and you have the reason that I don't like ranked. I hope that they will improve it somehow, but until then I'm going to fucking play unranked and just have some fun and play whatever I want. There you go. That's a short summarization of my complaints for ranked in the current patch. On top of that, even if someone does grind towards the top of MMR now, since everyone knows that you can do it by smurfing and boosting each other super easy, much easier than ever before in the history of Dota, that means that even if you get number 1 on the leaderboard of MMR, people are probably gonna look at you like, yeah, but how did you get there, you know? Whereas before, anyone who managed to get to the top of MMR pretty much always was confirmed to be an extremely strong individual player, at least. That could very seldom be contested. You could say that there were MMR assassins and whatever, but that still would not really make up for why they were number 1. But now, I think you could probably get to number 1 MMR just by having a very serious team of 5 players abusing like this. Say you're a stack of 7k players and you're doing the things that I said now, I think you can get to number 1 of MMR. Which kind of takes away the legitimacy of getting to the highest point of MMR. If you then want to think about, okay, but they work together to get there, and but what's the point? Why would anyone care about getting number 1 in MMR? Well, it's quite simple. It's the easiest fast track for any non-recognized competitive player to get into competitive Dota. Think about the number of players out there who have been unknown to the public and suddenly gone into a big team because they were number 1 in MMR and they then made a breakthrough into competitive Dota. The number of players who have done that, and the number of times they've placed high in tournaments, the number of millions of dollars that have been won by doing this, should suffice as explanation why the leaderboard served a purpose before. It served a purpose, but now I don't know if the leaderboard matters at all. To me, it's irrelevant as fuck. But you have players like Anathan and Topson and fucking Sumail, you know, Miracle even. A lot of these players just noticed by their pub experiences and then picked up into strong teams. So, in that point of view, ranked is not necessarily a joke at the immortal level, but currently it has become one. So that's why I feel a little bit down lately, because I'm losing motivation to play ranked, and I'm also seeing it as a bad thing for Dota overall that ranked has lost its value in high level immortal, and I think it's unfortunate.